Greetings folks, Pastas here with another super late review, this time for The Outer Worlds 2, a title made by Obsidian, the makers of Fallout New Vegas, and another series of titles such as Tyranny and Pillars of Eternity. But more importantly, this is the sequel of the original Outer World, which was, well, Patrician TV made an amazing video essay about it, and I suggest you to watch it if you are interested. It will make you appreciate the Outer Worlds 2 even more. Also, in the rare chance you never played Fallout New Vegas, immediately close this video and go play it. You're welcome. The Outer Worlds present us with an original setting. You are in a space dystopia where corporations have extended their tyranny over entire planets while waging war against each other to corner the market. And well, you can mix in tyrannical governments and weird cults with an obsession for common core. In the first game, we took the role of a frozen and unfortunate settler in a daring quest to save his colony or doom it, because after all, you can be evil in this type of games. In the sequel, we take the role of a space cop, if you wish, on a quest to unravel a conspiracy. The undertone of a bizarre space capitalism versus quasi-religious fanatism are heavy in this game. The combat, so let's begin with the good. Gunplay has been vastly improved. I would not compare it or put it on par with the Borderlands, but nevertheless, gun handling and the glorious feel of squeezing the trigger while annihilating stuff are there. But more importantly, the game also is a true RPG, with heavy focus on specialization and skill checks, which is frankly good. You need to plan around a certain type of skills, make your build viable thanks to skill points, traits, perks, and, well, flaws, which will come with their own upside and downside to be able to handle what the game throws at you. And importantly, most of the skills are useful. Not only they will come with a passive effect, for example, speech does increase your damage against humans, but can also furtherly specialize thanks to the perks they provide, improving their effects. Another good thing about this game is the mob variety between robots, creatures, and humans. This doesn't instantly make speech, for example, the best stats because 99% of the enemies are bandits. And while yes, some skills will be needed mainly to get some extra loot by exposing hidden safes or breaking through doors or hacking terminals, they will also, more importantly, give you an option for alternative combat resolution because usually there are multiple ways to reach the same endpoint. Stealth also is present in the game and comes into play, and while I did not do a full stealth playthrough, it should be viable enough to a certain degree, even if certain builds might struggle at the start, in the early section of the game due to lack of item and perks. However, there is something that needs to be noted, unfortunately, and I really cannot stress this. Obsidian decided to forbid respecialization, so in the future you might need a mod or something to compensate. For now, be careful on how you put your points and perks because there is no walking those back once you choose them. Another very interesting feature that I really like are flaws, which are sorta like skills with benefits and negative effects, which can happen after you do a certain number of actions, and some of them are very game altering. Usually you can refuse if you do not like the effect. However, if you take a flaw that will prevent you to not refuse flaws in exchange for some extra points, well, be careful because there is a risk you could break your build because, well, take, for example, Kleptomania. If you take that one, you will instantly steal any item that is not yours, and you might think this is good except when you have people looking at you, and now you have a bounty. So you need to be careful with that stuff. Another element of customization comes to Companion, however, I feel that it was a slight step back compared to the original Outer World, as customization expression mainly applied through the selection of a couple of skills through very limited trees with a binary choice. You can also change the type of damage that your companion does and their resistance to another type of damage because elemental damage is quite important in this game. Another important note about the companion, however, is that in case you are not following Obsidian press release during the development of this game, there is no romance. So if you really want it, well, then it's only jail for you. Personally, I don't find the companion to be annoying, but at the same time, I wasn't really that much impressed. However, I think they did a better job than in the first game, but that might be personal preference. Build expression is mainly centered around the weapon of your choice, as even perks, for example, related to guns, are broken down for those that favor point blank shooting or sniping. In the latter, they pair well with bonus damage from stealth. However, know that modding weapons will usually comes with drawbacks. They might lower their damage, add a status effect, or some other stuff. So keeping different guns or even a melee weapon for stealth kills is advisable, especially in the presence of ammo consumption. One of the perks, for example, causes the range of your guns to be increased by 50%, which is amazing on certain weapons. In all honesty, I started to have fun with the combat toward the end of the first planet, as your arsenal is still quite limited early on, but open up exponentially after you get in the second planet. If you're playing with guns, crafting is pretty much mandatory. It has been radically improved, and it's essential for ammo management, but also to craft mods and play around with those weapons. Even more if you took one of the starting traits, which will double your crafting output and will save in turn a lot of money. However, this is not obligatory, as making money in this game is really not that hard, especially if you go around stealing stuff and you take perks like pickpocketing from hacking, will give you greater rewards. Another important combat element to keep in mind, however, is that healing works in a certain way, which is a mechanic I am not really fond of, but let's say it works. Pretty much you inhale drugs and avoid to overdose, which will prevent more healing. This works with toxicity, and yes, this can be played around with items and perks. Moreover, you can also consume food while out of combat to refill your life, because unless you're using a passive health regeneration either through a flow, a perk, piece of gear, your health will not regenerate out of combat. You can also use auto docks, which are literally weird holes in the walls, to purge your toxicity and refill your health as well. So, how is the role-playing aspect? Obsidian gave some freedom similar to Avowed. When we start the game, we take our background. We can choose between a selection of possible choices, some more grounded, and one of them is comedic. This will allow you to pass some skill checks spread through the game, depending on the one that you pick, but more importantly, it will give you some flavor text in conversation, adding to that reactivity that Obsidian is well known for, and I would say it's one of the strengths of their games. Your background is set and cannot be changed, so be careful. Even when you get past the intro section of the game, you are afforded a one-time reset. You cannot change your background. I was struggling to choose between Professor and Convict, but I ended up playing with the comedic option instead, and while the humor is not overblown as Borderlands, with stuffs like Sir Bat Stallion jokes, it's still quite present. So, if that is something that takes you out of the game or you cannot stand for, well, you will not enjoy the game as much. More importantly, the traits that you choose during character creation, up to 2, but if you want a second, you need to grab a penalty. One of them, for example, Dumb, will lock 5 of your skills, which is quite extreme. Will give you some funny dialogue option. Traits will also help with skill checks, same as the background, even when you don't have the appropriate level of that skill, which can turn out useful during moments in the story, because some of the skill checks are quite high if you didn't spec enough points. Another RPG element that is quite important to talk about, well, is speech. Because just like the original Outer Worlds, you can just look at someone in the eyes, and if you're charismatic enough, you can walk out of that boss fight without firing a single shot. You might hate it or not, but this is also another optional mechanic. You just go there and say, how about no, bro? You shake hands or something. However, an additional element in the dialogue system that Outer Worlds added is the presence of information or evidence. Because after all, you're a cop, so if you know something, either you read it, got it from a hacked terminal, you can bring up that evidence and use it in various ways, depending on the situation. The story. So we'll only focus on general elements of the plot. The story of Outer Worlds is centered around Arcadia, faraway system, and while they share the same universe while the first game, you don't need to have played the original Outer World to understand the story of the second. They are not really that connected. Due to the extreme influence of corporation in tyrannical government, the people of Earth got fed up. So they created the Earth Directorate. Think of them as the space police meets with your department of motor vehicles. A lot of bureaucracy and procedures, but when the directorate finally arrives, they are quick to act. However, due to the size of space, that is not easy. You are a member of that department, sent on a mission based on background. It will also give you a reason on why you're there. But as usual, something goes wrong, and after certain events, you find yourself in a setting filled with political struggle with the prominence of factions. You go from Auntie's Choice, your typical mega corporation, which was the result of a merger between two corporations from the original game, to the Protectorate, which is a local brutal dictatorship, and the Order, which is what if we believe in God, but the God is actually a math equation, but we're really bad at math. Faction play massively in this game and will lead for a better or worse to different resolutions. If so, you choose. Okay, Pasta, but what is your take on the story? Is it good? Well, I liked it better than the original Outer Worlds, but not by a lot. In the original Outer Worlds, I really disliked the shape AI and several gameplay elements that I really hated. And some of the dialogues in the first, I really hated that stuff. However, in this game, don't expect something as gritty like New Vegas, and while yes, the world is extremely cruel and violent, the humor will remind you it's there every time an NPC speaks. Conclusion, I don't like to give votes because what's even a 10? So I'll just say this. Would I replay this game again? The answer is yes. How many times? No. With patches, the minor issue that the game is having related to balance and itemization can be fixed, I'm sure of it. It's just numbers they need to play around. So the game will improve over time. However, I just don't feel it's worth the price tag because mainly $70 is a lot in this day and age. So probably grab it if you really want or wait for a discount. Just don't forget that most likely DLC will come out as well. So that is gonna be additional price on top of that. So you might want to wait for the Ultimate Edition in 2 years or something. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and maybe consider even subscribing for more gaming content. Let me know what is your opinion about this game in the comment down below and have a good one. See you.